Hi, everybody. My name is Jenny. Welcome to my Emily podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, Fabian, the founder of La Esquina de Abuela. Thank you for coming.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. I have so many questions for you. So
Okay.
before I dive in, let's hear a little bit about your story first, because we're gonna spend quite a little on your grandmother's. So
Okay. So my story in regards to, at what point in life?
I don't whatever you want to share. What brought you to this point to founding this amazing cultural art center, I would call it.
Okay. Prior to Esquina de Abuela, I was working in commercial real estate. I got my license at a young age, and I dabbed in and out of it for a while.
Mhm.
But then I stuck to it, and I think I was in the industry for about 8 years. Things were going well. The market crashed. I went back to school. I got a master's in international real estate. Right before I started Esquina de Abuela, I had actually gone to the Wharton School of Business to get
Mhm.
certified for something called the International Council of Shopping Centers. So imagine I left, I have this amazing picture, clean cut, in a suit,
Yeah.
coming back to Miami, ready to take on Miami and sell 5, 10, $20 million shopping centers. That's what I was working towards and groomed towards. I was already doing those type of deals as far as selling a shopping center, multi-bay warehouses. But none of this, whenever I got a check, I never felt sentimental. I never got a tear coming down my eye. It wasn't a passion.
Right.
It was just something that I did because it gave me the freedom to work when I wanted.
Mhm.
I was my own boss. So that's what I really loved about real estate. Um, Then when I came back, my grandmother had some violations on the property, and I said, let me take care of these things, and I'll fix up the property. During that same period, I think my mother wanted to sell the property, and I decided that I wanted it for myself. So I started to clean it up, but initially it wasn't that I had this master plan to do Esquina de Abuela. It really was to I believe my family was underselling the property.
Mhm.
I knew the market was turning around, so I said, "Let me get in here. Let me clean it up in 3 weeks, and then I'll take the rest of the year trying to sell it and making a nice profit." That was the intentions.
Right.
But once I stepped into the property, and after 3 weeks turned into 3 months of cleaning the property, I became more one in one with the property. I brought my first graffiti artist. I believe it's been 5 years now already. October, 2016.
Right. Yeah.
And then by November 2016, I actually went with Tabitha, this author that's writing the book about my grandmother's life. We went to Cuba with my grandmother to get as much insight for where she lived,
What an
her
experience that
families.
must have been.
Yeah, that was amazing to be able to, accomplish that.
Yeah.
And then when we came back, I had this artist, Claudia LaBianca, do this piece. It's like a Cuban dollar bill with my grandmother in the middle. And that's kind of the piece that later on we came out with the logo
Mhm.
and represents Esquina de Abuela. So, in a short period of time from 2015, 2016, everything completely changed. It went from me trying to fix the property and sell it to now getting more and more invested in putting some art and
Mhm.
seeing what I could do with the property. Um, and and then let me see, 2016, I lose my train of thought. So I believe 2016 we tried to do an art basel, but we weren't ready.
Right.
So but we did have artists, some international artists that came and stayed on the property, and then as a thank you for letting them stay at Esquina, they painted on my walls, and that's where the
So
transition.
that right, sorry to interrupt you. That's how the art started to come in.
Correct.
That is so
The
interesting.
first one, it was a guy that I met in the streets, and he was doing some graffiti, and I just captured it. When he was done, I told him, "Hey, listen, I recorded what you did. You want it?" And then it turned into like, let's go hang out. And before you know it, he came to the property, and he's the first one to do a mural at Esquina. His name is Miguel Hine. He's Costa Rican from Key Biscayne. So I'm really thankful for that first piece. And then Claudia La Bianca.
Hmm.
I had met her at this place called Toe Jam in Wynwood.
Did you
So
always have an interest for art?
yes, yes, yes. I mean, it's crazy because, like I said, I stepped into like business.
Yeah.
I've been more into sales and business, but I found this book that my mom had put away from kindergarten, and when I opened and it says kindergarten, it says, "What do you want to do when you grew up?" It says artist.
No.
So now to be able to come full circle and to be surrounded by artists, I mean, Esquina de Abuela has been a huge blessing into being able to host international artists, being able to do, big scale music videos with very well known artists. But to me, the most important part is that being able to see the community.
Yeah.
Miami, Broward, West Palm, the Tri County area, they've all been able to use the property. I've had
Right.
so many talented people come through, young people that are trying to make it. And to be able to let them use Esquina de Abuela, provide Esquina de Abuela as a platform for them to have a show has been priceless.
I think that's one of the amazing things that you're doing is not just honoring the place where your grandmother lived and her legacy, but you're creating this community cultural center. And where Esquina de Abuela is located,
Mhm.
it's a place where people benefit from art, especially kids.
Yeah.
So it's just so interesting to hear the backstory of how it all
Yeah.
came to be. Because when you see it, it's like it makes so much sense that that's there, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, it definitely has not been easy. I remember before I started skiing, I used to always read a lot of memes or different people that were succeeding
Yeah.
and the things they would say. And it's not till you go through it that you see that everything that has been said before, you have to do it. You know,
Yeah.
it's a lonely road to success.
I was going to ask you, how did it feel when you had that realization that you were no longer going to be in your previous career, that this is what you wanted to do no matter what?
Yeah. I mean, imagine I started to tap into real estate when I was 18 and 19 years old.
Yeah.
I would go to back in the days, is it Crescent Heights? They would sell, some of the old buildings that were refurbished and sell them. As an 18 or 19-year-old young man, I would go and I would act like my father was wealthy and I had money and tell them, "Oh, my father told me to come pick an apartment." And it was just a way for them to treat me with respect and as an adult.
Wow.
So that's when I started to tap into real estate. So early on, um, why am I saying this? Because at 22, I already had my real estate license. So
Hmm.
I had my license for over 20 years.
Yeah, it must not have been easy, I'm assuming, to say goodbye to that side
Yeah.
of your life.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, I kept on going forward the esquina and I kept on running into like walls and bricks and situations where I wasn't really sure if I would continue.
Hmm.
But then at some point, I just told myself, listen, you've done so many things in life, and sometimes you don't. A lot of times you don't complete them. You just get bored, tired, and you just walk away. Um, but this time, I said I have to complete this. So I remember there was a story about some military guy that crossed the ocean with his boats,
Hmm.
and then he told his men to burn down the boat. And when they asked him, Captain, but why? He's like, there is no turning back. We're gonna win, and that is the only way we're gonna get back. If not, we're gonna
Yeah.
die here.
Failure is not an option,
Failure
right?
is not an option. So at
Yeah.
some point, when I was supposed to renew my license again for maybe the 10th time or 11th time, I decided not to renew it. I was burning the bridge. There was no turning back. There was no
Hmm.
going back to real estate. I had to complete what I started. And I said in the future, if I want to go back to real estate, I just have to take the course again, and I could always do that. But for right now, I just didn't want to get frustrated with whatever I was doing and just say, forget it. Let me sell and go back to real estate. So that was that was the no turning back point.
Yeah. That's it's it's so sad how when we dive into these careers, we forget how much it's needed to care. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I don't know if it was like that for you, but when I was, doing something else that I was no longer passionate about, I felt like I was living my life Friday through Friday. You know what I mean? Like,
Waiting for the
just
weekend. Waiting for
waiting
the
for the
weekend.
weekend. And that was one of the big aha moments. Like, I don't want to live like that. I'm coasting through 5 days, just getting by, and then just really feeling alive for two. That's stupid. So
Definitely.
it's yeah.
I wish more people, did it. Like I studied, I was indoctrinated or groomed to do
Yeah.
something, and it's like I'm helping millionaires make more millions, and I
Hmm.
get a piece of the pie, and I should be happy with that. But that just didn't fulfill me.
Yeah.
I've done projects for kids. I've had people come there and thank me for allowing them to use the space. It was their first time DJing. It was their first time presenting their art. It was their first time performing outside of their family. Like all of those things mean a lot to me. I've had parents
That's
thank me.
priceless.
Yeah, priceless.
That's
I've
priceless.
had parents thank me like, "Wow, you made my kid's dream come true." So all these things it's what fuels me to continue.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like, does this project really mean anything? Should I have sold it? And I could be in a nice car and I could be in a nice apartment looking at the beach and I could, have all these other things that everybody else in Miami likes. But I said, you know what? I think I've had a pretty decent life. It's not over, but I've had a pretty decent life. So if I have to sacrifice and go through some rough periods to create something amazing and great, then so be it.
Yeah. And it's gonna pay off. I mean,
It already is.
exactly.
It already
Exactly. So
is.
let's talk about Abuela.
Yes.
Yes.
Abuela.
Abuela.
Zoila.
You're amazing Abuela. So her name was
Her name from birth is Zoila Caridad Peña.
mm-hmm.
You know, um, she was one of 15.
Wow.
So my great grandmother had 15, and she was the only girl. So my great grandmother wanted a girl. She kept boy,
She
boy,
kept
boy, boy,
looking.
boy, boy. Finally, she had the girl. When she finally had the girl, she says, "We can't leave this girl alone. She needs another girl." So she had another one, and it was a boy again. So they're done.
Oh my God. So she was number 14.
Yeah, out of a lot of boys. So if you can imagine, she grew up very tough.
Mm-hmm.
And by 17, 18, she found somebody to get married to get out the house. She wanted to find out the
Right.
house. Back in those days, you wanted to get the house, you had to leave
Yeah,
marriage.
that was normal.
Yeah. So, I mean, her story is really extensive. I mean, just in that alone, when she got married, soon after that, she was pregnant, and she had my uncle. And then within the same year, she had my mother.
Your mom.
So my mother and uncle were born the same year.
So they're what they call the Irish twins.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Irish
Yeah.
twins, the same
Yeah.
year. Okay,
When they're
1948.
they're very close, together.
Yeah. But my grandma was a tough lady that back already in the 40s, she didn't put up with shit. Like I've talked to some women and I've mentioned to them, oh, my grandmother was married 4 times. And they're like, oh, tu abuela era candela. I'm like, no, my
No.
abuela was not candela. My grandma didn't put up with shit. There's women that have been married for 50 years and they put up with a lot of shit.
Yeah.
My grandmother, as soon as somebody did something wrong, she's like, moving on.
Yeah.
And that's why she was married for 4 times. But yeah, she's definitely a tough cookie. I think she got her license to drive before some of her brothers. Her dad, her dad gave her English lessons. She got sewing lessons, typing, mecanografía, which is typing.
Right.
They prepared her, to do well in life.
It sounds like they treated her I don't want to say like one of the boys, but there wasn't any like, oh, you're a girl, stay in the kitchen.
Right.
And that's amazing.
Right.
That
Whether they did it out of the heart or whether it was
right.
her being the tough one,
It
and they're like,
doesn't
okay,
matter. She got it.
she got it.
Yeah. She got it. So what happens in is it 53?
Well, I mean, um, what is it? July 17, 1953. We know that that was like an important day in the Cuban Revolution,
Mhm.
where they started. I guess it was kind of considered the beginning of the Cuban Revolution, which is not to be confused with communism. You know,
Yes.
a lot of people have misconceptions. They want to put everything together, but it's not. We have to state facts and really understand the history. But for her, important dates was, imagine one day, this beautiful woman of mother of two tells her mom, cuídame los hijos, I'll be back. And then takes off to La Sierra Maestra. She goes up to the mountains to fight with guns. I know I have friends of mine that had their grandmothers, and they would act like they were gonna go clean clothing,
Mhm.
right, in the river,
Mhm.
but in reality they had food, guns, letters,
Right.
supplies. So all the positions are important. That's a very important position to play
Yeah.
in a revolution. But my grandmother was a little bit different. Since she grew up with boys, she didn't
She's
want to
like, I'm
go
not gonna carry
wash. She
food.
wanted to go up and, you know. So she was part of that. She never really spoke too much about, you know, things of violence. She
Mhm.
didn't want to relive that or talk about that. But I do know that she saved somebody's life. I found this out 5 years ago when I went to Cuba. They told me the story, which is amazing. She got a man that she must have cared for as a friend. And I guess they were going to kill him. And she dressed him up as a woman, put a pillow, and says, "Get out the way. This woman's like, she's about
About
to
to
have a
give
baby,
birth?
and get out, get out." And because of who she was, they allowed her to get this guy through and
Oh
save his
my
life,
God.
because even though he was from the other side, she was a friend. So she wasn't, some people just think of ideology and then they forget about humanity. My grandma was still
Wow.
very humane in understanding that maybe this person is against us, but he is a friend. This person does
Yeah.
not deserve to die.
I'm speechless right now because what you just said, it's so up to date, right? Like if you look at our political climate right here in the US right now, so many people are subscribed to ideologies and that's all they're loyal to.
Right.
They don't
The
stop to think
fanatics,
about,
they
yeah,
don't think
to
about the
think about
human factor.
the person.
Yeah.
They're people. They're
Mhm.
human beings behind all these opinions and whatever's being said.
Yeah. If you remember, if you reduce um how we think or feel about each other, if you say this person is subhuman, this person is an animal, this person is not worthy, then it's easier to mistreat somebody.
Yeah,
Because if somebody's your equal and they're human, they deserve respect regardless.
right.
I mean, that's the right thing to do. Not everybody does it, but that's what we should do.
Exactly. So she was fighting
In
in
La
Sierra
Sierra Maestra,
Maestra.
with Fidel, with Raul, with all of them. And
Were there other women there? Do you know?
um, I'm sure. I'm guessing there should have been, but like unfortunately, we didn't get all those details. That would have to be somebody else that maybe has a
Right.
book or something. I haven't read the book Uber Matos. I
Neither have
should.
I.
I should, because I'm sure there's a lot of good information there as well that I could tie into maybe my grandmother. But let's see. She also got shot. She got shot, and she never really spoke to anybody about it. It wasn't until she fell, broke her hip, that she was in Jackson. I was with her 21 days taking care of her, and I kept on noticing this thing, and I asked her about it, and she told me it was a bullet. And then I asked her on different occasions to see if maybe the story changed, and she kept on saying, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's a bullet." I asked the doctor, and it was definitely a bullet that she received to the knee. So imagine, she got shot, she saved lives, and then, there's this famous picture of my grandmother with a M1 rifle
Mm.
and a gun, a revolver on her side. This is a famous picture that I have of her when she was going to a trial because her younger brother got killed. And even though her younger brother got killed by Batista, even though she won, in the Cuban Revolution, all she had to do was stay quiet. If my grandma stayed quiet, they would give her a car, house, whatever she
Right.
wanted, and she would have kept on, building up within the ranks of the communism. But she says, "This is not what my brother died for. This is not what
Wow.
we fought for. So I put you in power. I'm gonna take you down." So on April 17, 1961, what we know as Bay of Pigs, Bahia de Cochino, the Cuban Missile Crisis, there's movies about this. On that day, while, JFK and the USSR were fighting and all this, like, big things happening, there was this country woman that started to do Contra-Revolucion along with Camilo Cienfuegos, along with Uber Matos, and she was arrested April 17, 1961 for the first time. My mom was 13 years old, and she remembers the Jeeps coming to take her mom
mother
and her stepdad.
Dang.
So they took her, and my mom didn't see her mom again for 3 years.
3 whole years.
From 13 to 16, these are formative years for a young lady. And unfortunately, my mother didn't have her mother for support. Because my mother, my grandmother was an amazing woman. But as a mother, sometimes when you do amazing things, you fall short on other things.
Yeah.
So she definitely loved my mother, but because she was in the revolution, fighting for the country, then contra-revolution, then in jail.
Yeah.
She came out, continued to fight, and went to jail again.
2 times.
Came out, continued to fight, and went back again. 3 times.
Goodness.
That's how badly she wanted to,
Yeah.
Because she, like, I put him in power, so it's my job to take him down.
She felt a sense of responsibility,
Right.
which is so amazing because I don't think many people had the,
Man, once you go in jail 3 years,
the balls to do something like that.
You go to jail 3 days, you don't want to go back.
And another thing is to say, this is not what I came here for. You know what I mean? Like how she said, this is not what I fought for.
Right. This is not what my
so many
brother
people
died for.
would make excuses and because nobody wants to be wrong, right? So the fact that she had the, like the strength to say and the courage to say, no, this isn't what you guys said this was gonna be. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
She's that's very why inspirational.
That's why this project is so important to me, because it really is an amazing story. It really is an inspirational story of integrity. Because a lot of us, a lot of us can start a mission, and if that mission is off, it's like, ya estamos montados en el caballo, we're already on the horse, continue. Right. And I feel that that's what's happening in Cuba. In Cuba, you have a lot of people that instead of being mad at them, I feel sorry for them. Mm-hmm. Because they've been with communism for 60 years. Right. And you have to understand that if you were 20 years old, now you're 80, right? And if you're 80 years old, your whole life was dedicated to something. You know how hard it is to say my whole life was wrong? I fucked up. Excuse me, I messed up.
No, you can say whatever you want to say.
So
this is America.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who's gonna be listening. But for her, for all these people that were 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, it's a lot for you to say, wow, I'm wrong. The comparison now would be people that grew up being racist. Any white American that grew up being racist, 60 years of living with this lie of thinking that you're better than another human, it's sometimes really hard to take. Wow, for 60 years I've been a piece of shit and I've been wrong. So it takes a lot for people to... There's ego
involved there that has to be removed in order for you to be able to say, you know what, I was wrong. Yeah.
So I mean, that was a comparison.
Yeah. No, it's perfectly said. And the fact that she was able to do that so quickly.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? That's impressive. Because I know people that it took them years to be able to say, wait, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Or I was wrong or whatever. But she was on it, man.
Yeah. She had letters from Camilo Cienfuegos. So who knows if she had communication with Matos. But I know in Cuba, there were letters that were from Camilo to my grandmother that when she was arrested, they took. My only hope is that hopefully those were stored away and they still exist. I hope one day they appear. But yeah, she was definitely, early on with doing the Contra. This year, we just celebrated 60 years of the Bay of Pigs.
Right.
So we actually had an event. We had a Movimiento San Isidro event at Esquina de Abuela on that day. For me, that was like, wow. Celebrating, my grandmother's 60th year of being arrested, 60 years of Bay of Pigs. you know. So for me, it was an honor to be part of El Movimiento San Isidro through Ras Andino, which is one of the founding members.
Hmm.
Excuse me. He was here, and we did an event just to honor this movimiento that now, as we know, November 15th is going to go back out in the streets, and
Yeah.
hopefully, we could see a Cuba free within our lifetime.
Hopefully, hopefully.
We
I
will.
mean, it's about time.
Yeah.
It's about time. And so many people suffered, and did so much, like your grandmother.
Mhm.
It's time all those efforts.
And all these young people, because Cuba has so much talent.
Yes.
Doctors, engineers, artists,
Yeah.
musicians, craftsmen, so many, people that can sell their art.
Hmm.
Right now there's this whole movimiento is like NFT Cuba art. So these
Yes.
artists in Cuba are able to sell NFTs and have a life for themselves.
Hmm.
So like I commend all these movements that are helping out the Cubans there. And once Cuba is free, I know there's gonna be so many people here that are gonna be willing to go over there and
Absolutely.
help bring Cuba up to
Yeah.
date.
It's so interesting because with everything that the communist regime took away, they somehow were able to understand the importance of art and have always, like, it's like a dog on a leash, like you let go a little bit and then you pull back.
Yeah.
So they let art flourish and then they put a cap on it. But at least people have our artists are still there in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form.
Well, my thing with that is the Cubans. This is my I what I think in regards to that. I think the Cubans, you know, the Castro regime has used the artist because artists romanticize anything.
Yes.
There's people like Silvio Rodriguez
Hmm.
that he has all these, he's a great writer, people love his words, but he also threw in the communist idealism, romanticism. So
Yeah.
I feel that the Castro regime for a long time used the artist to romanticize in poetry and letters and books and music
Right.
what they were doing. But now the artists are against them. They've lost one of their biggest weapons, right? Which were the artists.
Exactly.
Now the artists are waking up and saying, it's been a while that they've been doing this, but now more and more are saying we don't want part of this because now you're taking our freedom. You're taking our art, you're beating our people.
Yeah.
So now the artists are standing up and now they've lost the people that are most influential. I believe artists in Cuba and the
Hmm.
US and the world are very influential people.
Absolutely. They
And
they carry the consciousness of its culture, you know? I mean, whenever a government wants to control a group of people, who do they go after first?
the artists,
The artists,
the
writers,
intellects, the
musicians,
writers, yeah.
you know, painters. Those are the first people that are go on the
Yeah.
chopping block. It's not by coincidence.
Mhm.
So I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, the artists are finally saying no more.
And they're waking up the people. I mean, the protest that happened on July 11th
Hmm.
was never seen before in Cuba to
No.
that magnitude. And now November 15th is supposed to be even larger.
Yes, and hopefully everything goes well.
Yeah, hopefully it's
Yeah.
peaceful. The thing is that when you see so many people unhappy with with what's going on,
Hmm.
it's time to step down and allow something else to take place. There
Yeah.
has to be major changes because the people that are hungry, that are starving, are making an effort to come out and show their discontent.
Right.
So hopefully it doesn't turn into a civil war. Hopefully it's not a bloodshed.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a peaceful transition, which is what we could hope for.
Let's see. We'll be praying for sure for that. How did your grandmother make it over here, Fabian?
Well, in 1980, my father, mother, my sister, and I came from Cuba. We came
Oh,
in
so you were
Mariel.
born there.
Yeah, I was born in Cuba.
I
I
didn't
was born in
realize that.
Camagüey.
I thought you were born here.
No, I was born in
So
Cuba.
how old were you when you came here?
4.
Do you remember anything
Yes, it was
about?
very. It marked me. It definitely marked me because we left. My father, since he was a political prisoner, we were supposed to leave. We had a visa to go to Venezuela.
Mhm.
But when he was finalizing the paperwork, they put some signs up that if you were a political prisoner, because my father was also a political prisoner, but a little bit different, um, you could leave to the U.S. So my dad says, "Forget Venezuela. Let's go straight to Miami." And so we went to Havana. We went to Marianao, I believe, and
Oh, that's where I was born.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then awesome.
Yeah.
I think we Marianao, and then from there Puerto Mariel,
Mhm.
and then we left on a boat on a I think it was a shrimp boat. You know, imagine me 4 years old, my sister 2 years old, my mom, my dad jumping on this boat, ready to cross to come to America.
Yeah.
And then the boat started to sink.
Oh,
So the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Navy, they send little boats out. They rescued us. They brought us to the big Coast Guard cutter. And, I remember an American giving me my first green apple. And I guess they did all the medical checkups. And when we were released, it was to get on a helicopter, a military helicopter. And when they put me in the military helicopter, excuse me, when they put me on the military helicopter, they strapped us on and they left the door open. I was 4 years old.
oh
When
my
the
God.
helicopter took off, I felt it in my stomach. Like if you were in a roller coaster
Yeah.
and it was adrenaline. So at 4 years old, I got my first taste of adrenaline. I think I liked it. Because since then, I've jumped off airplanes and
Oh my
I've done a lot
God.
of like dangerous things throughout my
Yeah.
life that when I eventually started to research more and more about my life, I figured out it was because of that.
It goes back to that
It goes
moment.
back to that moment that I got a taste of adrenaline at a young age. And then, throughout my life, I've done a lot of things that some people call risky, chasing that adrenaline.
Yeah. You're trying to recapture that moment.
Right. So my poor mom had to go through a lot with me,
Yeah.
escaping here, there, just doing all type
Oh
of
my
like
God.
travesuras.
So the four of you came, but your
Okay,
grandmother.
I'm sorry, I
No, no, it's.
digressed. So we came right to the U.S.
Uh-huh.
So my grandmother, my parents, we went to Miami, then Puerto Rico. My grandfather was in Puerto Rico on my dad's side. Unfortunately, my parents decided to split up in Puerto Rico, and my mom came to Miami. So
Okay.
here's my mom. We came to Miami, Hialeah. I grew up in Hialeah. So when they ask me what part of Cuba are you from, I say Hialeah.
Hell yeah.
So in Miami, imagine my mother with two kids alone. When my grandmother found this out, she says no, so she left her 2-story house, and her son was a doctor. Unfortunately, he still believed in the regime. My grandma was just, living.
Yeah.
After 3 times going to jail, she just accepted the fate.
I mean, what else? She literally did everything she
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
What else was there left for her to do?
So when she found out my mom was alone in Miami, she said, no, I need to go to my daughter. She needs me.
God.
So with my father's visa that we were going to come to Venezuela, she was able to transfer it to her name because she's still part of the family, and she left to Venezuela in 81
By herself.
with her husband.
Oh, with her husband. Okay.
With her husband, his name is Angel Guerra, which is where she got the last name Guerra.
Mhm.
So my grandmother's name, when she came to the U.S. and in her death certificate, when she passed on, was Zoila Guerra. Zoila Guerra, which
Yeah.
sounds like soy, Soyla Guerra,
Yeah.
which
And
is
if you
I
translate it.
am law. I'm sorry, I am war.
Right.
So what a powerful name for such a tough woman.
Yeah.
So after about a year and a half, 2 years in Venezuela, she was able to come to Miami. So she came to Miami in 83. She came in 83. She started to do what immigrants in the 80s were doing. She's selling tomatoes, lemons, flowers, whatever she could hustle to save up for 3 years. And in 1986, she bought the home that now we call
La
Esquina
Esquina
de
de Abuela.
Abuela.
Beautiful.
So in 86, she bought this little wooden home with a little fence around it. And even in the front, it had like 4 steps and then tierra. It didn't have even the pavement that's there now.
Oh, wow.
By 1990, 4 years later, she saved up and she bought the lot next door. By 96, she was able to get a refinance for the property, change the zonification from residential to commercial, and build what would be now like the business side of the home.
Oh, nice.
You know, and what she did was she did upholstery, furniture,
Okay.
which which nowadays you call upcycling, which is really important because it's consumerism, just wasting, wasting,
Hmm.
wasting. Here's something that's still good. Let's fix it
Yeah,
and
it's
let's
giving you
reuse it.
life.
Let's give it new life. So
Right.
that sh- by doing this, she was really doing something that's good for the world, for humanity, of not just continue to purchase, or actually fix things up. So, and she also, whether she did it with my grandfather, my, they would pick up furniture that people would throw away and fix them up and then sell them.
She was a visionary,
And then eventually she had
right?
people that would go pick up the furniture and bring it to her. And then eventually she hired people to work there. So she went from her and my grandfather doing this. And I call him my grandfather. He's my step grandfather.
Hmm.
But since he came to this country, he is like the
Right.
image of
He
grandfather.
was, yeah. Which his name is super interesting too.
Oh, his name is Angel Guerra. So it's the
Okay.
angel of war. He is the
What a
angel of
team.
war. And then she is Zoila Guerra. So she's like, if you are the angel of war, then I am war. So you are my angel.
Oh my God.
So it was
You
just
can't make
amazing.
this stuff up, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
What a team.
Yeah. And and he would just do whatever she said because she was a tough woman. And
Yeah.
ella mandaba. And he was like, a strong man. With any other man, like even in his old age, he was ready to like knock people out. He was a boxer in
I was
Cuba.
gonna say, for to have a woman like that as your partner, you need to be a strong man.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to be a strong man, but then soften up for her.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like people think, it means like you're like a beta male or something like that.
Mhm.
No, like you need to be
Yeah, you can
as
still.
strong as her in order to be able to back her up
Yeah.
and do whatever you do in your partnership.
Yeah. I mean, we already know the future is female,
Yeah.
right? What is it? Beyonce says, "Girls rule the world."
Mm-hmm. Well, I
So
mean, I think girls all have always ruled the world,
yeah,
but
yeah. I mean,
some people are starting to notice.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, the woman is the closest thing to God.
Yeah.
Like, who else brings life to earth?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's as close as you get to God.
Yeah.
Not only do you
Definitely.
bring a human to earth, and then you also feed it, then you
Right. You
nurture it.
sustain it. Yeah.
So I believe in alpha males,
Yes.
but then I believe also in alpha females, and I do
Yeah.
believe in having each other's backs.
Right. And creating this, team,
Yeah.
because I mean, you really can't have one without the other. It's the yin and the yang.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, strong women are very much necessary and part of the tapestry of life.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And
So,
then,
how does it feel to carry on her legacy?
oh, it's an honor.
Yeah.
It's an honor, and I'm just glad it happened because I could have just continued to stay doing what I was doing, and I really don't think it's as impactful. I think Miami has 24,000 realtors.
Hmm.
Maybe in commercial real estate, there's less of us. Um, but like I said, one more or one less realtor isn't as necessary. But I think what Esquina de Abuela has accomplished and what we're planning to do in the future, I think that's a one of one. That's a
Right.
more rare thing. My grandmother's story is rare. The opportunities we've given to people, the people we've housed, the people we've helped, the things that we've been a part of, it's grander than anything I could have imagined. And
Yeah.
we're not done.
It's just the beginning.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
I call this the foundation. What
Exactly.
we've been building up to now is the foundation. So now we could continue to build on top of that.
Right.
This is a blueprint.
How do you think she would feel about what Esquina de Abuela has become?
Mm. Well, when she turned 88, which right now we're about to come on November 26, 2016, Claudia La Bianca, this Italian Sicilian artist, has been in Miami since she was 18, created this amazing piece. like a Cuban dollar bill with my grandmother. And then this other artist, Marcelo from Milan, also Italian, did the Cuban flag. Both were completed on that day. And on that day, we had a return from Cuba. I think it was right after Thanksgiving. And my grandmother, for the first time ever, had her 2 kids, her 3 grandkids, and her 2 great grandkids present.
Oh, wow.
So that was really the first time we had the whole, that immediate
Yeah.
family together. And we took pictures in front of the mural. Tabitha was there, other friends were there, and it really was a special moment, you know, to have that. And we're about to step into 5 years. So at that moment, we only had maybe 3, 4 murals,
Hmm.
and she was able to see that. By the time she was 90, we probably had closer to 20 or 30 murals. And we were able to celebrate her 90th birthday there and invite her friends and family. And we had this amazing Cachita Lopez was able to sing for her, this amazing Cuban singer that I'll speak, about her now. Um, she was the first one to do it at an event at Esquina de Abuela. So she's a very special person to Esquina de Abuela.
Yeah, that's amazing. And
There's been a lot of women. If you think about it, Claudia Bianca,
I
she
was
did
gonna,
something
you
super
literally
amazing.
took the words out of
And
my
then
mouth. I was
Cachita
just gonna
Lopez,
say
and she
that.
did, she did the first event, and then also sang for my grandmother her birthday. She also celebrated her dad's birthday there. Rest in peace.
That's
So just the impact that all these artists have had on the space, and now we've been able to amplify that
right.
and give back to the community locally and internationally. It's been just amazing.
I'm I'm speechless. I think that this is such an amazing thing that you're doing.
Thank you.
You know, and I've seen your posts, especially with the kids, what you do with kids in the schools and their faces, how they light up with all the art. It's just like I think there should be like a Esquina de Abuela in every neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the goal. Like this was not the goal from the beginning. Everything has been kind of like a work in progress. Everything has been very organic. This was not,
No
I came
worries.
with a master plan and this was what it is. It just kind of because of necessities, you know? When Cachita and I got together and she decided to do events there, I was running into a financial situation where we did a deal
Hmm.
that she would host so many events during this time period and she was able to pay me that upfront. That was a blessing because we needed it at the time. We were
Right.
going through some difficulties. And then after that, we still were a little bit in a tight place, right? That was March 2018. 18, right? And then by the following month, we still needed something. And I remember talking to this man, and he was talking to me about Airbnb. And I told him, but the property's not ready. It still needs a lot of repairs. It still needs a lot. He's like, it doesn't matter. Just do it. Just do it and put the price low, and you're going to be able to
Yeah.
get additional funds you need. And I did it. So in April 2018, we started to do Airbnb as well to get funding, and that was wow, what an amazing experience! Because I love traveling. That's
Right.
my passion. I've traveled to 43 countries, so I've seen the world. And now was my turn to bring the world to me, to bring the
Yes.
world to Esquina, to bring the world to Alapata. And that experience was amazing. It lasted about 9 months, and I brought 240 reservations from people from all over the world, from South Korea, from Russia, from Norway, from Switzerland, from Nigeria, from Argentina, from everywhere around the world. People came, and we put the price really low. And when people would come, I would give them a tour, talk to them about my grandmother, talk to them about the graffiti, and then apologize for the place not being in
Hmm.
the best conditions, but telling them that the funds that we're receiving is going to help
Right.
better things. And we got great uh, people that came there. I met some amazing people that we're still connected with and still friends with. this Friday, I have a French photojournalist coming for the third time. He's been documenting what we've been doing.
That's
And when he
incredible.
originally arrived, he came as an Airbnb with another guy. And he mentioned that he wanted to do a music video for somebody. He wanted to do like work for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I connected another young man, Lotus Hill, from Miami. He's an up and coming artist. I connected him and he got a music video done. And now here, this guy, Antoine, is coming for the third time. He was here in 2019 and he documented everything. Imagine having pictures of Esquina de Abuela, people in Alapata, now being exhibited in a museum, not a museum, a gallery in Paris.
Right.
That's mind-blowing. And then having articles written in a French magazine, in a magazine in Barcelona. So like these are just things that were not part of the plan. But as we continue to move forward,
Right.
it's just more and more amazing things and people that
One thing leads to another.
correct.
Yeah. And your grandmother's story and what she did is so incredible. It only makes sense to have worldwide involvement,
I mean, we started with 1, 2, 3. At the moment, we have at Esquina 75 graffiti artists from around the world. Some of them legendary people
Incredible.
that are in the Museum of the Graffiti. Some of them have been doing this for 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, And now almost all my walls are taken up. So now through something negative, every time something negative happens, we have to just step back and not let it consume us and understand that it's the universe guiding us in a different direction.
That's such a good lesson to learn,
Yeah, I've
Sometimes
learned a lot.
we get so caught up in the obstacles that it's good to realize, like, wait, hold on, maybe that's not the way. Maybe I need to go this other way. Yeah, like you said, it's the universe nudging you, like, hey, don't go that way,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that said, was after 9 months of Airbnb, I ran into a situation where the Airbnb then had to be shut down. And I thought, I'm like, wow, after I worked so hard, I started with 2 Airbnbs, now I started with 6 Airbnbs. I felt that what happened was something unfair, and I was so disappointed. But because of that, because I was running Esquina, because I was running, these underground events, because I was running the Airbnb with six different rooms, the amount of time that it consumed for me to talk to each of these people, like I started to do before Airbnb experience started, I was already doing it, which is actually going with some of the Airbnb. I would take them to the bakery. I would take them to the beach. I would take them to a nightclub. I would take them to Wynwood. Yeah. So before Airbnb created the experience, we were already doing this. And this is how we got top ratings because, okay, maybe you were paying $30 for a room. It was super cheap. But then on top of that, you had someone like myself that loves Miami, and then I'm giving you a tour.
And you're getting the real tour, not the just South Beach, typical, Miami stuff. You're getting like the nice bakery experience. Yeah, that's amazing.
And then imagine, I would have some clients that would arrive, some guests that would arrive. And their first question is like, is it safe here?
Oh, I see.
And I'm like, yes, why? She said, no, the taxi driver told me to be careful. The guy at the airport told me to be careful. The guy from, ¿cómo se llama? La aduana.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
When you come into the U.S.,
yeah,
the guy that takes your passport,
right?
The customs agent,
customs
thing.
Yes, you're right.
So the customs agent saw the address. She's like, "Oh, you better be careful there." So imagine that. So right away, I'm already dealing with the negative, like guests arriving and are scared.
They're scared, yeah.
So then I would have to, tell them, listen, at nighttime, you have to be more careful, but during the daytime, it's completely safe. So I helped transition what people thought of Alapata. Before, because Alapata is now a hot commodity, but it wasn't before. A lot of people want to go in there for development. Now we have 3 huge art institutions that are part of Alapata and new buildings. And so all of this is great. And Alapata is definitely on the rise. Yeah. But one of my main things is to not forget about the people. the local people. As money pours in from New York, California, we can't forget about the local people, the people that made Miami what it is. So that they're going to need our help as well. And that comes into, after working 2000, I moved into the property 2015. I incorporated Esquina de Abuela in 2016. 2017, we did an Art Basel. 2018, we did an Art Basel. Unfortunately, sometimes people in Miami don't see value right away, right? So as I spoke to a lot of people, and a lot of people use Esquina, when it came to Art Basel, there were other nicer places,
Right.
Shinier toys, and some of the people just went that way. But I did have this young lady named Angie. She came from New York, and we had spoken about doing something together for Basel. And she brought 31 artists from New York, and they took over Esquina de Abuela, and they did the first, amazing Art Basel event, where to see 15, 20, 30 artists working together to transform the space and create what was created was magical. That really was magical to, like, everybody just showed up, and it wasn't about money. It was like, what do we have?
Right.
Like, what art do we have? What things do we have? What can we create? And it was just so authentic that for me, that was just a magical year. And, so hard work, 2015, 16, 17. 17 was mostly artists, international artists, badass international artists that stayed there. So that was magical in of itself. And then 2018, we created our first real Art Basel event, which was more than just the artists, but actually bringing people in. And then by 2019, as we were doing Art Basel again, now we're doing 3 or 4 different shows. And this time we come out on the New Times, and for me, it was so important because for such a long time, nobody understood what I was doing.
Yeah.
My family was disappointed in me. My girlfriend at the time was, she tried to be as supportive as she can. But everybody was used to, like, Fabian. Like, I worked my ass off to get a degree and to be in a suit and to work. So now they see me go to Alapata, and I'm throwing trash away, and I'm painting, and I'm cleaning, and I'm doing all of this stuff that this is not what I studied for. So they just wouldn't understand why I was in this neighborhood and working these things that they thought I shouldn't be doing. This is why I really haven't had support from a lot of people, just because they thought,
when you're starting on uncharted territory, it's hard for people to be supportive, and because they don't understand what you're doing.
They don't understand the vision.
Yeah.
They just see, like, this old home that needs repairs.
They see a problem.
And they see, like, you're in a rough neighborhood. What are you doing in this neighborhood? These are the things that made me want to just quit. Just sell this place, get the money, and run. Like, forget it. You did what you did. But instead, I said, you know what? I have all this. Now I have more free time that I was dedicating to Airbnb. So I said, let me get more involved in politics. Not politics, but what's happening in the community.
Right.
And then I joined something called the ANA, Alapata Neighborhood Association. And then, and by joining that, I met some great people that cared about Alapata and wanted to see, things progress for its citizens and for the community. So it was nice to be in that environment with people that actually cared about the community.
Yeah.
And in there, actually through a connection with somebody else, I met Yariel, which he was in charge of I think it was the NET office, the neighborhood enhancement team. And he was a great help. He was really a great help in me integrating to what's happening in Alapata. So now I'm leaving my walls from Esquina de Abuela to tapping into what's going on in Alapata. And one day he reached out to me. He says, hey, listen, on this day, we're going to be physically painting Comstock Elementary because they need some help getting it ready for the school year. I think you should come. And it was probably one of the the best things I could have done, because when I went there, the chief of commander of police that I later on we found out, I think we went to college together.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
took a picture with at the time Willie Gore, which was the commissioner for many years of Alapata, and other police officers and business owners that showed up to put physical work into helping the community, helping the school, which for me was an
You
honor.
found your tribe.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. It was great to find people that were willing to help out the community, and so we took a picture together. That was nice. But then I got a chance to speak to the to the principal, and I told her, "Listen, I have a place down the block. I've dedicated it to my grandmother. I brought all these artists. I would love to bring some of these artists to paint your walls." She's like, "Oh, we don't have a budget." I'm like, "That's fine. I mean, I just want you to give us permission
Yeah.
to paint the wall." And when she told me yes, I found the first artist, Rigo Leon. He's a Cuban artist, and he was the first artist to paint at Comstock Elementary. The first collab between Comstock Elementary, an artist, and the school system. So that was the first. And then there was the second, and there was the third, and the fourth. And at this moment, Comstock Elementary has 25 artists
That's
that
amazing.
have painted the whole school. I've put in the paint, I've put in the scaffolds, the artists put in their time. Nobody got paid. Not the artist, not myself. We didn't ask for the school budget to give us any money. We haven't asked anybody. We did that ourselves. And that for me is like, wow, beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
and then even during Art Basel, like there's this video of having all the after school kids. I brought Frankie Flo from New York. He's a freestyle soccer player. So he came and he did all his tricks, and the kids were going wild. Then over here we have pizza that we brought in, and then we have this collective called Trust Your Struggle Collective. Trust Your Struggle. It's a beautiful name.
I love that. Yeah.
They've been around for about 16 years, and they go around the world helping impoverished and needy places to create art and programs for the kids. So when I found out about them, for 9 months, 10 months, I spoke to different members, and I convinced them to come to Alapata, and they spread their love in Alapata. They painted at the school. They did two amazing murals. They painted at Esquina and in other locations as well. So very fortunate to have people that they hear my story out and want to help out. Because sometimes you run into artists and they say, "What's the budget?"
Yeah.
When they say, "What's the budget?" I'm like, "Well, we don't have any budget. We're working to get a budget, but
Yeah.
right now it's like I'm putting the paint, I'm putting the scaffolds. You can put in your talent."
Right. It's all about coming together and community.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
And yeah, so I mean, and from Maya Angelou, I'm sorry, from Comstock Elementary, that principal connected me to the principal of Maya Angelou. And for me, imagine Maya Angelou, this, just the name alone, and to
yes.
know the history that this woman in 1995 actually came to Alapata, to the school
Mm-hmm.
that was honoring, with her,
Her
giving her
name.
her
Yeah.
name. So to me, that was an honor. And in that school, so far, we have 11 artists.
That's incredible. Incredible.
And this is just little by little because it's really our budget.
Yeah.
If we had a big budget, then we could get 10, 20 artists at a time. But it's just one
Right.
artist, two artists at a time, and we're just steady building.
But what you're creating is priceless.
Excuse me.
Do you think it's this? Do you want me to turn it off?
Maybe.
Let's turn it off. Yeah, I think what you're doing is priceless, though. Because the faces on the kids when they see it, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, I mean, it inspires them. They see
yeah,
something like, wow, I want to do that.
they see so much
Creativity,
possibility, right?
and they feel honored. They feel like,
Yeah,
oh, this is my school. It's an honor. Like I
yeah,
have other projects that I want to do. There's this project Guincherry projects. It's these projects that are 4 blocks away. I can't wait till I'm able to have a budget to work on that one. You're looking at 60 buildings. They're all like monotone, one color.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that's inspiring about that place. And it's right next to the school. It's right next to El Espacio 23.
Right.
It's close to us. So eventually I want to put a proposal together to get funding to bring 60 artists to paint each of the buildings, to have like a weekend festival and bring artists to perform live and have food, just to do something
Yeah.
beautiful. And then imagine all those kids coming out of their project before they go to school
I was gonna
and
say the
the
pride that
impact.
that creates
Yes.
in the kids that belong to those neighborhoods to say like this is where
Yeah.
I live,
A,
and
a lot of those kids go to the school, so they see me
yeah,
painting at the school.
yeah.
And I've told them, hey, don't worry about it. Soon I'm coming for your home.
Oh
And
my
it's like,
goodness.
it's a bit, because of
They're
COVID,
holding you to it.
yeah,
They're like,
they're
hey,
waiting for me.
you said.
Yeah, so we're working on it. It's something we wanted to do in 2019. We weren't able to do it. 2020 COVID, we weren't able to do
Yeah.
it. And then this year, we'll see. Hopefully, we could pull it off. If not, then next year for sure. So in 2019, after 2015, I moved in, started cleaning up the property. 2016, incorporated, continued to work on the property. 2017, you know, continue to, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to work on the property, to work on setting up the Airbnb, the events. When we started doing events, we teamed up with a lot of great organizations, young people, putting on for Miami or for the Tri County area. And I want to speak of this because I want to mention these
Of
names.
course, yeah.
Backroom Sessions. It's a collective of young adults that, musicians, poets, designers, artists. It's a beautiful collective that, I reached out. I reached out to them and they actually came. They saw the location. They loved it. And they hosted 5 events, including their volume 8.
Oh, wow.
We're big into numbers. 8 represents
Yeah.
Esquina de Abuela. So the fact that they did volume 8 at Esquina de Abuela and they created a can, it was just an amazing event that was created. And they're still around and they're still doing great things. So shout out to Backroom Sessions for being there from the get go at Esquina de Abuela. From there, also another group, Soul Era. And we did, a couple of amazing events with them as well. So I'm just saying these names out there just because they should be commended for the amazing work they're doing
Right.
for other fellow artists. And for me, it was an honor to have them at Esquina de Abuela and host some of the events they did. Then I mentioned Nomad X Lab, the group from New York. And, in 2019, when we finally came out on the newspaper, imagine opening up the New Times and there being a full page picture of me with a Esquina de Abuela logo, throwing up the 305 sign and talking about how art goes west.
Yes.
I previously wanted to do an event at Esquina, my first event ever at Esquina. Somebody was going to do it, but then that young lady, Macy Todd, was told by other local Miamians that this place was too far. It was maybe too ghetto. Maybe it was too whatever.
Oh, that's
So
a
then Macy
shame.
reached out to me and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it." But it was really because these two young ladies didn't see my vision. They have their own vision and they're part of a big collective that do great things in Miami as well. But unfortunately, they didn't see my vision and they dissuade this lady from doing an event there. And not to give them bad name, I won't mention their name, but
Yeah.
they're important members of Miami that unfortunately didn't see that. And for a while, I had kind of a chip on my shoulder with them. But then it felt great to see the article in the New Times says art goes west.
Yeah.
When I was told it was too west, like, oh, it's not in Wynwood. It's too, it's not on 7th Avenue. It's on
Right.
22nd Avenue. It's pretty out west. It's in the heart of Alapata. So and that's kind of been one of the struggles of Esquina, because there's a lot of different areas in Wingwood and Little Haiti where you have collective, a lot of people, and they all kind of feed off of each other. Where I'm at, I was pretty alone, so it's been a little bit extra difficult to make
Yeah.
things happen. But here we are, we're still doing it.
But you believed in your vision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, burn the ship and keep on going and not
Yeah.
look back.
Exactly. Exactly.
So coming out in the New Times was an honor to be in an article that says Art Goes West. Here we are, and then if you go in, they're talking about the Rubels, which have
Hmm.
had they're collected for over 25 years in Wingwood. Now they brought their 100,000 square foot museum, the Rubel Museum, to Alapata, and to be in an article with them is amazing. And if you continue to talk, it talks about El Espacio 23, which is owned by George Perez, the
Yeah.
Perez Art Miami Museum. Here's the developer of a related group, a billionaire with a gallery 5 blocks away.
That's true.
So to see like institutions like El Espacio 23, the Rubel, and now the latest one, Super Blue, all in Alapata, and I have some type of liaison and connection with each of them, is amazing.
Yeah.
We've had now 3 of the art residents from El Espacio 23 that have actually come to Esquina and had a tour. Um, the first one, Colombian from Bogota, he came and I gifted him some things and he made an art piece that's now hanging in this gallery. Like, what an honor to have a piece created from things that I gave him from Esquina, and there's like pictures of what I gave him, of myself and Esquina, and there's a writing. It talks about my grandmother, Esquina, and myself. So what a great honor. And then we had another artist from Africa. He came and he took some things, and I guess he's creating. And then just recently, one of their most recent art resident, Camila from Cuba, came by. I think it was yesterday.
Oh,
So what an honor.
very recent.
Yeah, what an honor to have her over and show her Esquina. So, these are just little things that fill me up and make me happy.
Yeah. Little things that let you know you're on the right track. Yeah, for sure. Which is necessary when, like we said previously, when you're starting on uncharted territory, you kind of need these signs to let you know, like,
You're in the right
you're
place.
on the right place. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, there was one time that I had a developer come and sit with me for 3 hours and try to convince me
To
on
sell?
why I should not sell, but do a joint venture with him and put a building there. He told me your property's worth so much. If we knock it down and put up a building, 5 stories, you can get so much more money. So imagine 3 hours of talking, and at some point somebody came to the gate, and when I went over, it was somebody from El Espacio 23 that came over with some flyers, and he wanted to invite me over. He's like, oh, it was somebody that he came with that first artist from
Mhm.
Colombia. I apologize, I can't remember his name right now on the spot.
It'll come to you. And then we'll
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
put his name down below
Okay, cool.
so people can check him out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So this young man came from El Espacio 23. They gave me these flyers. He's like, "Oh, here's a stack of them, just in case anybody that's here, let them know that on March 7th we will be having an event,
Mhm.
and that art piece that he created will be on the wall, so you could come see it." Because they had all these VIP parties during Basel, but I didn't have time for that because I was painting the schools and doing the Great
Right.
Wall of Alapata. So now finally, March 7th. I was able to go with my mother and my girlfriend at the time to go see this art piece. But before we get there, just in case, the importance of this guy arriving with that paperwork,
Mhm.
right? When he gave me that, I went to the developer and I go, "You see this? This is a sign. Like,
Yeah.
you can't get a more clear sign. My birthday is March 7th." So this guy just showed up telling me the art piece that the first art resident from El Espacio 23 is from Bogota. He created. We're hanging it on our wall, and we want you to come on March 7th,
On
your
your
birthday,
birthday.
to come see it. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So I sat down with him, and I'm like, "Listen, man, I'm sorry. I know you're telling me that I could get this much more money, but I really believe what I'm doing and the brand is worth even more than that.
Mhm.
You know, and the because of the impact it's gonna create for this community.
Exactly.
And after 3 hours, he left, and just keep on going, and really 29 because of after coming out on the newspaper, it was a way of telling my mother, my father, my girlfriend, my friends, everybody that doubted me, look, see, we're in the right direction. People are noticing what we're doing. So 2020 really was our time to shine. You know, right now everybody's into, cryptocurrencies and
Yes.
Bitcoin and Ethereum and NFTs and DAOs and DeFi.
Yeah.
These are all new things to many of us. But in our 2019 Art Basel, not only did we create the Great Wall of Alapata, which is at Studio 60, 8 amazing artists from around the world did legendary pieces on this 3-story building. We call it the Great Wall of Alapata, coined by Jim Vision from England. On that wall, we have Seyo from Switzerland. He's a legend. He did this amazing wall. This is like a $40,000-$50,000 wall.
That's incredible.
He did it for free. I
Wow.
paid for the scaffold. I paid for the lift. I paid for the paint, and I housed him. But he did it for free. It's his biggest piece in 39 years. This man is a
And he
legend.
did it for free.
He didn't charge a penny. Okay,
That's the power of art, though.
Yeah,
it's right there.
And this is his masterpiece. Like up to now, this is his masterpiece, and completely for free for the residents of Alapata. And this wall is legendary. It says Esquina de Abuela on it, Fabian. It has Alapata in big because that's what this was about. Bringing Alapata up. Not only the art institutions, but us as citizens.
Exactly.
As residents of Alapata. And then you have Bigogi from Brazil, Studio Flop from Brazil, Binho from Brazil, Gamma One from Switzerland, Jim Vision from England, The Amazing Ski, a legend from Puerto Rico, and then the last piece that wasn't fully completed just because of time constraints, but by Space, an artist from Sweden. So imagine having this legendary wall completed, 8 artists, again, my number 8, Esquina de Abuela.
Yes.
And, it came out in the newspaper. So those, in that article, Art Goes West, it had a picture of myself at Esquina, a picture of the Rubels, and then a picture of half of the wall that Seyo did because it didn't fit.
I hope that everybody can come check it out too.
For sure. Like I said, you could reach out to us through IG, I think is the best way. But if you Google us, I'll show you where it is. Right. Reach out to me, Fabian. I run the marketing. Hopefully in the future I'll have a community manager. For now, I'm the man with many hats. I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, you said you were going to find someone. We're not going to let you forget because you wear too many hats. You need to slow down a little bit.
7 days a week for 4 years.
That's crazy, man. But it's paying off. What you're doing is
and
it's
I'm
incredible.
Getting, and little by little, more and more people that are teaming up with us. We have a EDA, Esquina de Abuela crew, and it's worldwide. Anybody that's ever lived at Esquina, created Esquina, put into it, they are part of the family, and we're appreciative, of them. And we just want to continue to grow and continue to provide a safe space for local art and domestic and international artists to connect. It is a connecting place.
Yeah.
So many people come here to connect.
Right.
So that's a beautiful thing too. I love it. The one thing I love credit for is connecting people for doing good things. I love knowing that somehow something that I did or Esquina did bettered somebody's life or connected to people to do great things. That's definitely one of my favorite things to do.
I know. It's so cool when you get that comment or that call like, hey, this person you introduced me to, I'm working with them on this. That just
even the way we got connected.
Yes.
Is interesting,
Yeah.
We had met at Tabitha's bookstore.
Yes. The bookshop.
The bookshop.
Which is this month is hosting its very first annual book festival, which is Miami's known for Miami Book Fair, but Miami Book Fair is only for a week. So Tabitha's book festival is special in the sense that it has an event going on every single day surrounded around books and art and community. Um, it's amazing.
And and the fact that I met Tabitha like 5 or 6 years ago, she's seen the progress of
Yes.
Esquina. She stayed at Esquina. She is the author of my grandmother's book.
Yeah.
It's going to be completed next year. The way all of this tied in, the
Right.
way Florida Man called.
Which, for
He
those
called.
of you that don't
Yeah.
know, Florida Man is Javier Covas, who is was a former student of mine. Yeah.
So imagine, through a former student of yours, he reaches out to me with you on the line, talk, for us to do some great things together. When I see that you're so much into literature, I'm like, oh, you should meet my friend Tabitha. And you're like, what do you mean, Tabitha? I was there yesterday.
Yeah,
And then
that
I'm
was
like,
so
what do you mean? I
funny.
was at the man's circle. She's like, my husband was at the man's circle. So like the way like everything's happening just
Yeah.
shows alignment and shows
Right.
how like everything's going the way it's supposed
And
to.
I don't think I mentioned to you, Tabitha had told me about, this friend of mine whose story I'm working on for his grandmother. So I knew about you, but I put two and two together and realized it was you.
Mhm.
So when you start talking, it was like, oh my goodness, like this is you,
Mhm.
It's crazy how synchronicity all of a sudden happens.
Yeah. And with all the people I mentioned, I just keep on remembering. I should have brought better notes, but I also want to mention One Time Expo. One Time Expo was
Okay.
a collective of about 20 Cuban artists.
Oh wow.
You know, um, we hosted a couple of events, and then this young man says, oh, I have this idea that I want to do, and I want to use your space to create it. And he hosted the first one, and it was amazing. And it's, imagine, like, there could have been some other people from other countries, but I would say 95% were young Cubans from 20 to 30 that arrived to Cuba, arrived to the US anywhere from 2 years ago to maybe 18 years ago. And they all got together and they rolled up their sleeves and they washed and they cleaned and they moved things and they just completely transformed Esquina de Abuela and just did an amazing show.
Right.
And I was so proud of them. I was like, wow, these, with limited resources, they did such an amazing show.
Yeah.
That then he reached out to me and says, oh, I'm down to do another one. And they did another one on July 31st. And the same thing, like this team of there was singers, rappers, spoken words, painters, like all on the second one there was also people that did the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you come into Esquina and it it was just it was completely transformed. It was so amazing. There's this one piece that Leti Caramona did, and sorry, next time I'll have notes.
We can add it. Don't
We'll add
worry.
it.
We'll add it.
But they did a theater piece where, imagine when you come in and there's these two women, one of them with a Cuban flag, and then the other one reading things that parents were talking about, like, why are they taking away my kid? Or just, and then one wall filled with old Cuba, new Cuba, and another wall filled with all the dissidents that were arrested.
My goodness.
So
That's
so
powerful.
So I just wanted to bring the attention to that One Time Expo. They hosted 2 events. I'm hoping they do other ones there. Just the creativity of Cubans. And at the same time, as we did that, it was to bring light to look at these young Cubans here, what they were able to create.
Yeah.
Right? All we want is the artist in Cuba to do the same.
Exactly.
Give them the freedom to do the same.
Yeah.
That's all they want.
Let people create and live their lives. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Fabian. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you here.
My
And
pleasure.
we will have all the information linked down below. And we hope that we see a lot of people out there for these upcoming dates that we'll have posted. And we appreciate everybody listening. Thank you for your time and hope you are having a great day. Oh, and I always forget to say, make sure that you leave a thumbs up, or if you're listening to us on the podcast platform, you leave a rating. That's super helpful. And we will see you next time. Thank you.